Welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Port.
What a show. What a life.
And once again, it is the Barnes and Tony show coming off a Masters and Easter weekend. How are you, sir?
Oh, dude, I'm feeling alive, Brian. Happy to be back on this beautiful Easter Monday, dude. Excited for the people to tune in, recap the Masters. Dude, I was pumped for the weekend. So much sports all day, all weekend. It was a great time.
Unbelievable weekend. So much going on, and just great to catch all the the Masters, the Yankees, all the sports going on,
the
with
Mets,
friends and
the
family,
Rangers,
all the good food and everything. And I like to give a special shout out to my sister Jennifer and my mom. They're in the car right now, but tuning in. So we always appreciate them tuning in and commenting on the show.
Who hosted for Easter?
So we went to my parents for Easter,
Nice.
for Saturday, and then I went to Sam's on Sunday. But I was gonna say also, Mom, and I already told her about this, but she makes, and I think I've mentioned this to you before. She makes this babka bread.
No.
Yeah. And little butter, toast it up like Mike says, toast it up, warm it up,
toast it up.
Unbelievable. So I always look forward to that.
Are we gonna get
every year?
Are you gonna bring some in tomorrow?
I think when she comes to our live show, I think she might have to whip together a batch. I know I'm putting some pressure on, but one of our live shows, it doesn't need to be the first one. We give her
has to be the first one.
time to prepare, and I believe we do have some comments.
That's right. Matthew Gabriel says Rahm boy, and then Jennifer says happy to be tuning in to the Sports Port from Rhode Island today. Matthew says, Rudy Barnes, look at that polo, bro. He says, I love it, dude. That is a sick
about
polo.
The Masters, and of course,
PGA.com?
No, actually. So Riley, one of my friends, he went to a practice round. I want to say it was like, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and he was able to pick this up at the pro shop.
Oh, that's sick, dude.
So yeah, I wish I got more stuff, but hey, at least I got something though.
You'll get there one day.
But of course, appreciate my sister, my mother, and Matthew tuning in, and everyone else tuning in right now. There is so much to get to. And Tony, I have to say, aren't you gonna miss? Like, obviously, we're recapping the Masters today, but after today, like, we're gonna have to wait almost a whole year to say hello, friends. Right? Like, aren't you kind of into the Masters mood?
Oh my God, definitely too. And going in and out of breaks during the Masters too. I even said to my mom, like, one time she's home, I was like, Mama, shh, let's listen to this music. And it was the music coming in from break.
Wait,
my God.
Did she say did she see our video?
Oh, I don't know if she did actually.
Okay, yeah. She'll have to take a look at that. And I was mentioning to you too. It was so great. I was talking to so many different people about the Masters over the weekend, and I was saying, I was over at Sam's house, and her grandpa. He used to be a decent, played golf pretty regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't got to watch too much, but he was excited to see it because he hadn't really got to see any over the weekend. And then also, her mom, her dad.
Right.
Her other grandpa, her brother, we were all watching the last 2.5 holes, and everybody was really dialed in. They're like, and they win how much if they win this tournament?
Wow.
And they just couldn't believe the beauty of Augusta National, Tony.
Oh, dude, it really is. It's so fun. I had a lot of fun watching.
And I was when you texted me that, I was just so excited, Tony.
Yeah.
It felt like, a monumental moment. Like, we finally got you there with the golf.
Yeah, dude. And I will say, the coverage of the tournament is great. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't get to watch a lot of tournaments this season, and I don't know if it was maybe because of the rain delay. But you wake up and it's like, Golf Channel, it's just like coverage right away.
Live from the Masters. That's the program.
Do they like for every tournament, do they do that where they're covering them while they're warming up and they're just like ripping through like stats and like what people do?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so like informative and like interesting. Like, they're watching Koepka like warm up and he goes through his warm up routine, whatever, like drivers, whatever. And they're just like ripping through like how he approaches the game, like what he's worked on, what he needs to work on. And it's just really encompasses you in the atmosphere of the tournament, dude. And it does a great job with that. And then obviously, 3:00 or 1:00 rolls around and actually, tee off. And I just thought the coverage was amazing.
And ESPN Plus, took over PGA Tour Live last season. So you could all like before, the 3:00 coverage or the 2:00 coverage begins on CBS. You could watch that on your, streaming device, the ESPN Plus. So from first tee shot, and they do that for all the tournaments, just not the Masters. So that's exciting.
That's awesome.
And then also too, Sam was getting into it a little bit. Actually, me, Jennifer, my dad, and my mom on Saturday, we watched a couple episodes of Full Swing, and they were interested in it. And even Sam said yesterday, she's willing to give the par 3 a try. So
let's go.
It looks like we're gonna get a golf outing going this summer. So
love that.
All about the golf. But speaking of Tony, so obviously by now everybody knows Jon Rahm wins the Masters tournament, 12 under par. Really battled throughout this weekend and started out with that 65 on Thursday, followed it up with a 69 on Friday. Battled through a 73, and obviously part of that round, I think the first 7 holes were played on Saturday. And then yesterday morning, playing the remaining 11 holes alongside Brooks Koepka, shot a 73. We knew the conditions were tough. And then his final round, he shoots 69, which was actually 6 shots better than Brooks Koepka, who fired 73, 75 over the weekend after starting with a 65 and 67. So obviously got worse as the rounds progressed. And that was something that surprised me. And I know we've seen Brooks blow it before, and he did actually back in 2021 at the PGA Championship with, coincidentally enough, Phil Mickelson, who he actually ended up tying for second with. Phil, really out of nowhere. He hadn't finished in the top 25 on any of his live events since, switching over to the live tour. Shot a final round 65. You saw that shot in the par 3 that he almost aced.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So he went 71, 69, 75, 65 for the 3-time Masters champion. But when we were talking about Koepka, I feel like this has to be so tough for him mentally. He said some interesting things, and obviously, like I had mentioned last week in the Full Swing Netflix series, he seemed very beaten down, and even before this tournament was going on, while it was going on, he said he would actually pay back all the money that he's won golfing to experience that feeling of winning a major championship.
Wow.
He entered the final round with a 2-shot lead. He even said, he was even a little sarcastic with reporters. I was texting you about that. They were asking him how he feels. His lead was 4, then it was 2. And he goes, I have a 2-shot lead. Why wouldn't I feel good? Like he said something like that.
I mean, that's not that bad though. He's not wrong.
Right. But if you just saw the tone, it was a little aggressive for, someone who hasn't won a major in 4 years and who, if you think about it, I mean, he shot, a total of, I guess it would be 4 over on the weekend. He was sitting at 12 under, and obviously if he had shot even, there would have been a playoff with Jon Rahm. So it's interesting because there's a couple ways to look at this, thinking about live and just what shape these guys are in. I mean, obviously you look at it, just straight from the top. I mean, the guys that tied for second, obviously Phil and Brooks, they're playing on the live tour. And former Masters champion Patrick Reed actually tied for 4th, another live golfer. You go a little further down the list here. Joakim Niemann slid in the top 20, tied for 16th, just to name a couple guys. So there were live guys in contention. 12 out of the 18, made the weekend. But do you think, like for Brooks, for instance, we saw him driving so consistently throughout the weekend, or the first 2 rounds, and then really tapered off, starting yesterday morning. Is there any thought to, he's playing not every week, he's only playing 3-round tournaments, that contributed to his demise here over the weekend at the Masters and resulted in him not winning?
Yeah, I mean, I really, I think, that would play a big factor. I think it was a little bit of everything in terms of, certainly not being, I guess, in shape for this tournament, right? Like in prime shape. And I think the mental factor definitely played a role too. I mean, he knows the history. He obviously felt the pressure because he was buckling. I mean, the man, if he, even though he's not maybe like used to these lengthy tournaments, I mean, the guy is in shape. He's a big dude. He can muscle his way around.
Right.
So I would say maybe, the mental factor definitely kind of, bogged him down a little bit too. Cause I mean, you saw it in his face when he was like shanking shots. And of course, obviously he's paired up with Rahm here, who's shooting really well, who's killing it off the tee. Literally, I think, I don't know. I think there was a drive that was like well over like 300 yards, like 325, 330. I'm like, holy shit. And Rahm, of course, it has like a nice curve to it, like hits the bend perfectly on the fairway. It's like, are you kidding me, dude?
Right.
So I think all those things really just bothered Koepka. I mean, dude,
did you see that grin when he missed his birdie putt on 18? Like
yeah,
it just skated by the hole.
Dude, it's tough. It was. I can't believe how hard that course is too.
Oh,
it's just like,
yeah.
you miss left or right anywhere. It's just you're gone, dude.
And did you see the he had a couple putts in that final round where they just skirted out besides that last one. So you think about what that adds up to, and then just the fact too, if he just kind of eased up on the tee, in his third and fourth rounds, maybe we'd be talking about something different here today, but obviously we're not. And I'm sure, Brooks is earning to get back out in the course with these guys. We'll have to wait to the middle of next month when they do the PGA Championship in Rochester. But do you think, I mean, I know he's got this tough mentality and winning is all that matters, specifically the majors. He doesn't care about winning live tournaments. Do you think because of how he's struggled, in PGA Tour events and majors over the past couple of years, that he takes any gratitude in the fact that he was this close and came in second? Or do you think it almost does nothing and maybe just hypes him up, if anything? Just to go do it next time.
Yeah, I think if anything, it hypes him up to go do it. I think maybe if he had, maybe more of like a Phil Mickelson type of scenario where he was like in 10th, on the last day and then ended up
shot 7 under.
Yeah, like then he would be like probably a bit more, more excited, more happy with the performance. But the fact that he had that 2-shot lead, it was, the 4th shot. I mean, that was the story was him leading, the whole weekend. So I think for him to blow it, I mean, I couldn't imagine he feels good about that.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds from it. And, we mentioned Phil. I don't think it can be understated, Tony. A 53-year-old golfer, a golfer, like I was saying, hadn't made the top 25 in any of the live events and had performed very poorly other than, winning the 2021 PGA at Kiowa in these major championships, to finish second, to shoot 65 on Sunday. I mean, he's got to feel pretty good about that. And it's funny, he finished in the same place as Brooks, but he must have a completely different feeling.
Oh, yeah. Like I was saying before, I mean, he came back. And it was actually pretty crazy because, you look at the leaderboard here and you look at like the top 10. I mean, there's really not a large disparity. And it was, I feel like there were some holes where all of a sudden, the player in 10th would be tied for 5th or something like, like it was such a crazy jumbling of players that was constantly moving too. And for Phil to kind of, see that, take advantage of how, he could play this course. I mean, I think he went like full, like veteran status, like he's been here before. He knows the course. He knows the feeling. If he just focuses and just plays his game that he can, I mean, he's got to be super proud of himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And I'm sure he, just like Brooks, is excited to get back with everybody next month at Oak Hill. And then, you look at the rest of the leaderboard. Jordan Spieth had a very interesting tournament. He opens up with a 300 par 69, shoots 2 under on Friday, 70. And then a third round 76 kind of takes him out of it, but then he shoots 66 yesterday, ends up tying for 4th with Patrick Reed. And if you look at it, I mean, the list, obviously he won the 2015 Masters, but all the top 5s he's had, I think he might have the most, I don't know, in recent history or something. I have to like research that exactly, but he must feel pretty good about that. But it's kind of similar to the feeling of Brooks, and obviously he's won some lesser heralded tournaments over the past couple of years, but it's been a long time since he's won major championship. I think it was the 2017 Open Championship, but I guess it's, how you finish. So you would think he'd have some forward momentum going into RBC this week, a tournament that he won last year. I mean, you shoot 66 at Augusta, you finish in the top 5. I mean, there has to be a pretty positive feeling. But I mean, I'm sure at the same time, he has to wonder, like, in this type of setting, in a major championship, when is it finally, as we go on to the 6th year, going to click that he's, hoisting a trophy at the end of the tournament?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe for him, it was the weather that affected him a lot. Because you saw it yesterday. You even said, too, if there was more holes from the play yesterday, I mean,
he was on fire.
He was on fire.
Yeah.
So I think it was definitely the weather. I mean, dude, they played in tough weather on Saturday. They were trying to gut it out, and it was. And I also found it hilarious that when they finally called it, you hear like the guy over the loudspeaker, like over everything, like, "Please find your way to the clubhouse. There are dangerous winds up to 25 miles per hour coming." Like, it was like, the siren too. It was so funny. But yeah, dude, I mean, for him, I think for a lot of these players too, it's so, again, like, I mean, you look at it, some players even looked like they played better on Saturday. I mean, obviously, Brooks did, and I feel like, I want to say Mickelson probably had the best game on Sunday, right?
Sunday, 65,
yeah. And that was, I think, by a pretty like decent margin too. I guess Spieth shot that 66, right? But I feel like everyone else was, like, compared to the rest of the weekend, kind of struggling on that final day.
Yeah, I mean,
which was interesting.
A lot of numbers in the 70s.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of players, honestly, for me, I was watching Victor Hovland a lot, and I feel like his putting game just totally screwed him.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some putts that were, rimmed out, that were close, that were tough putts, but then there was a few easy ones that he just totally flubbed. And it's like, I mean, I think he could have had a 3-shot difference easily if he was making those putts. So it's like, I don't know. It was tough, dude. Tough course, tough day.
And if you think about, I mean, he started with a 65. He was tied for the lead, 73, 70, 74 to finish the tournament, slightly better, a couple of shots here and there. And, we're talking about something completely different. But obviously, I mean, a top 10 finish at a major, and just age, like the other guys, he'll look to try to capture that first major title next month. We've gone this long without talking about Tiger, and it sucks because, when we left here on Friday, there definitely was a sense of optimism that, he could potentially compete over the weekend and, finish decently. And obviously, he makes the cut right on the number. But unfortunately, I believe it was only 7 holes he got in on Saturday before the rain delay, and was 6 over to that point. And just shanking shots left and right, barely being able to walk. So obviously yesterday he wakes up with draws and says he re-aggravated a plantar fascia injury, which is obviously tough. And then you add that to the back and his leg, his ankle. Really tough to be optimistic, about Tiger moving forward. The big thing, of course, is just his drive, his will. You think would get him there. And I was talking to everybody yesterday at Easter, and I was just saying it is a shame, though, because you do see it. He can hit the shots. It's the walking that really does him in, and he's been, hard pressed. He will not take a card for PGA Tour events, but he would senior tour events. But he's only 47. Is he going to still be playing at 50? I mean, I'm sure he wants to, but it definitely is a question to be asked. And I think we've had runs of positivity since Tiger came back 1 year ago, from this car accident. I think this is the lowest point that we've been at with Tiger since then.
Yeah. You said it. I think, the weather certainly played a huge factor, his injury. I mean, I feel like, any I guess you could say older person will tell you, when the weather gets a little colder or rainy, their joints hurt. You can only imagine how it feels for Tiger. And then I think to walk up and down that course, most of the shots, I don't think do it justice in terms of how hilly and slopey and angled the entire course is. So, I mean, you have that coupled with the weather, the fact that it's wet, he has to focus on not slipping, the cold, I mean, it definitely takes a huge factor, especially with his injuries, so, and you saw, I mean, dude, he was like limping like on the course. I mean,
Tough.
it really is so tough to see. And you mentioned the bright spots, and of course, what is it, the 16th hole that where Tiger had that chip in where it went like far and then like circled back, and was like, of course, they constantly play that at the 16th hole too. So it's just like you're seeing these highlights of Tiger, of course, of his heyday at the Masters, and they're mentioning how what did he tie the record for most cuts?
23 consecutive.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, like, not a great look for Tiger. He definitely, he looks like he's just having a tough time, and it's a shame. It really is, because you really have to question now at this point, like, what can he do?
I mean, and do you think, Tony, that it would have made a monumental difference if we had 80 and sunny for 4 straight days?
Yeah,
for him?
I do think so.
Like to the point where he would finish on the right side of par, or no?
I could see him maybe finishing even, but making it through the tournament, certainly. And I think that would be the biggest difference, him being able to play the entire tournament.
And so I think the PGA Championship starts May 18th in Rochester. So you would imagine obviously, we see weather fluctuations all the time. Freezing this morning, get up to 60 this afternoon. By the end of the week, it's going to be in the 80s. I mean, there's a pretty good shot we could have 4 straight days of good weather in Rochester in May. So
let's hope.
I hope he's able to compete then. We'll definitely have to see. Some other guys that didn't end this tournament, the way they were hoping for. One big one, he was a tournament favorite, Rory. He shot even par on Thursday, and then second round shot a 77 to miss the cut. So once again, another missed opportunity for Rory. And it just, begs the question. I know, he finished second last year at the Masters and the Open Championship, but he's coming off this year starting with missing the cut at the Players and then missing the cut at the Masters. It just, I guess it's like just tough to think, like, is it just strictly mental at this point?
I mean, you would think so, because again, I mean, I feel like you've seen so many bright spots. You mentioned favorite going into the tournament, and I think watching him play earlier in the weekend, I mean, I feel like he was struggling from the get-go,
right?
And you saw it on his face, like it's the class. You saw him quite a few times where he hits the ball and off rip, you can see he's not happy with it. Drops the club. He's just like almost like questioning himself on what he's doing. Seems like he was a little bit lost out there. And again, you think someone with his experience would be able to kind of adapt, to the course, and I guess he didn't. So I think it is more of a mental thing. I don't know. I really couldn't think of anything else. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what it seems like, because we know he can drive the ball like anybody, but he just sometimes these shots, these chips, just randomly everything goes awry. So I mean, I would expect him to have a lot better performance, in Rochester, but at the same time, I wouldn't go anywhere near him to say that, he's going to win the PGA.
Right.
So be interesting to see how he rebounds. And I believe he's in the field this week at RBC Heritage. That's an elevated event, but let's say he goes out and wins that. The drought still continues for the major championship.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, he'll take the winner's share and adding a win to his repertoire. But we know what he has, what he's looking for here. And then another, major champion here, JT. He shoots 2 under in round 1, and then shoots 78 in round 2 to miss the cut. And of course, he'll defend his PGA championship. But he's a guy, again, that, he's had a couple decent showings at the Masters, but for whatever reason, things just don't seem to line up for Justin Thomas at Augusta.
How about Sahith Theegala, dude?
A great final round, and officially his rookie season. Obviously, we saw him play a lot last year, but to shoot a 67, to get in the top 10, I think you have to be impressed with him. And then Cam Young. I feel like no one talks about Cam Young. He finished tied for 7th with Victor Hovland. It seems like he's always near the top of the leaderboard in these tournaments, not winning them, but I think that doesn't speak to him having a lack of skill, as it is the difficulty of winning these type of tournaments.
Yeah, I think he'll come around too with some more experience,
Yeah, absolutely. But it is interesting.
Oh, what do you think about Scotty?
I mean, obviously an up and down tournament, but at the end of the day, I mean, he does finish tied for 10th. Which at the Masters, I mean, is
It's
good,
good.
but coming off a title, you're
Mhm.
looking to defend, and obviously he had to be disappointed. And
Right.
what did him in, like a lot of other golfers, really struggled in that second round, shot a 75, and then after a 68 in round one, he just was not able to get back into the 60s. And if you're going to win this tournament, you're not going to be able to shoot in the 70s. So I think
Yeah.
that was the whole thing there.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about the seating after people are done here, because obviously the purse is X amount of dollars.
Yep.
And you'll get Mickelson and Koepka, for example, tied for second, so they make the same amount of money. But does that take away from what everyone else makes?
No. So what they do is they eliminate third prize money and then split the sum of the second and third place money evenly between the two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then
so
you had a tie for fourth, and then they
right,
did the same thing
same
with fifth
deal.
and sixth.
Yeah.
Lump it, split it.
All right, that's kind of cool.
But yeah, and it's interesting too. I think the players' purse was 25 million. This is only 18 million. So for being the most prestigious tournament, it doesn't have the highest payout. But obviously, I mean, it's still, when you're talking, the guys in second place are getting $1.5 million. Not too shabby. And even if you're in the top 20, you're making $260,000. So you go further down the list, top 30, you're making over $100,000. So the payouts are there. But I have to say, really, and we said it from the top of the show, was an outstanding Masters tournament. And like what I was saying, just the fact that you have people, like yourself, like my family, like Sam's family, that don't watch golf regularly, but we're just so drawn into this. And I think that just shows the beauty of Augusta and the Masters.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole tournament, kind of the prestige of it all, the green jackets, even from the start when they're, they forget what two guys
the opening tee shot.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Tom Watson.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so cool. Everyone's kind of clapping. It's a happy occasion. And like I said, I think, also the coverage just makes it so much better. I mean, you really have just constant action going on. And, everyone just does a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all good stuff there. And, I know obviously, like I had been saying, there is nothing like the Masters, but at least we can say that we do have 3 other major championships, this season. And all at nice golf courses. We'd mentioned Oak Hill next month. Then, we'll have the U.S. Open at LA Country Club. And I think it's been quite some time since they've hosted an open U.S. Open. So that'll be something different to see. And then we'll finish up our championship season in July with the Open Championship, the 151st at Royal Liverpool.
Hell yeah.
Another, historic course. So we got that to look forward to. And then, of course, the FedEx Cup playoffs and these tournaments in between. And speaking of those, the RBC Heritage, and really one of the more picturesque golf courses on the PGA Tour at Hilton Head, South Carolina. The course specifically is called the Harbour Town Golf Links. And just any course that's waterside is always going to be, just fun to see and aesthetically pleasing. And it's just kind of interesting too. Length is shorter. I think this one's 7,100 yards. Some courses get up to 7,800 yards on the PGA Tour, but they have the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. So you want to talk about accuracy, precision, all the top short game players, always fare well here. And that's why, obviously Jordan Spieth won last year. And it's nice too that they made this an elevated event. And how about this, Tony? So last year wasn't an elevated event. Purse was $8 million. Winner got $1.4 million. This year, the purse is up to $20 million.
Holy shit.
The winner more than doubles their share, $3.6 million. So you win more money winning the RBC Heritage than you do the Masters. Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah, that is kind of unbelievable. Now, like, you think the Masters are going to change that? Or?
I could see that. But I guess, we'll have to see. And obviously this is the first year of these elevated events. But I'm just excited to see the best players play here. Because like I said, I mean, we haven't really seen that before. And I mean, you look at the past champions, You had Spieth last year. Stuart Sink has actually won 3 of these tournaments, and he's, over 50 years old now. Webb Simpson back in 2020. You had Pan Chang Sung, 2019. Satoshi Kodara in 2018. Wesley Bryan in 2017. Brandon Grace in 2016. So you get the theme that in the past, lesser named guys, lesser field. So now to see this with a full field, I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it makes for a great tournament, dude. Maybe I'll watch that one too.
Yeah. I mean, just
if I have the time,
bite here and there, Tony. A bite here and there.
Dude, it really was like I had so much fun just like, waking up, sitting on the couch, like coffee, breakfast, just like watching golf, dude. It's so sick.
And
it's so sick.
Yesterday specifically was outstanding just because it's CBS at 8:30. And you don't usually
Right.
get that, but because of the weather, the broadcast rights. So to have that for a couple hours, and then we still had the final round, really made it so great. So a job well done. And I have to say, I can tell you with certainty, Tony, this is the longest golf segment we've ever had in the history of the sports port.
30 minutes, hands down. We got into it pretty quickly, too. Like,
loved every second of it.
Yeah, it was great.
Which is what it's all about. But look out for Wednesday. We will have our preview of the RBC Heritage. And once again, congratulations to Jon Rahm. 4 wins.
Yeah.
Here we are in April.
Honestly, good for him.
What a job he's done this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins one of the remaining 3 major championships, not to mention possibly the season-ending tour championships. So something to keep an eye out for. Before we switch here, I guess a couple comments.
Yes, Matthew says insane weather at the Masters. Glad they got to finish it though yesterday. Keep the tradition. He says they did do a great job because they were talking about earlier in the weekend, perhaps finishing on Monday or whatever. Right. So they did a good job of getting it in there. And then Prefer says your thoughts on Fallen Tree at the Masters almost crushing people on the golf course.
I mean, I think it's something, obviously the important thing here, no one hurt.
Right.
Obviously something like this is very scary. But we're just, it's just one of those things. Trees falling at times can be very random. And obviously they, I'm sure, do their best job of inspecting the grounds, and if anything looks sketchy, they'll remove it. So I think the important message here, nobody hurt. That's what we're looking for.
Quick question for you. Yeah. What do you think it'll cost me to go to the Masters?
So the lottery badge, Tony, I believe for one day is only $150, but you have to enter a lottery. I think you have to enter right now. I almost want to enter today. I might look into it.
For $150, no guarantee.
No guarantee. And then at secondary market, you're talking thousands. So obviously we're not secondary market candidates.
Right.
But I told you, I mean, my friend won the lottery with his dad. So you never know.
That's so sick.
So it's talk about how ridiculous it would be to have footage of that.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I heard people around Augusta, like who live there, will like go somewhere for the weekend, like go to a hotel, vacation somewhere, and rent out their own home because they'll make so much money because there's nothing around there apparently, right?
Nope. And I thought I heard for the week, normal, maybe 3-bedroom house, $30,000. Forget about the tax bill.
Yeah, holy shit, dude.
So yeah, just amazing stuff there. But let's go now to the world of Major League Baseball.
What a play! Stop it, Tony. Yep. And Alonso cracks one of the Mets win the ball game. Out of sight.
And it works at 100 miles an hour. 14 strikeout.
Too deep to left field. There it goes. See ya.
All right. So we heard that a couple times yesterday. But before we talk about that, of course, as we had mentioned on Friday, Yankees 3 games set in Baltimore. Game rained out Thursday, had the off day scheduled for Friday, so that's when they made up the game. Series did not get off to a good start for the Yankees as they fell Friday 7-6, and we saw Clark Schmidt run into some trouble once again. 3 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks. So really kind of putting a question as to he can handle being a starter, if he's better suited for the bullpen. And then you have to think about when Luis Severino and Carlos Rodon come back. I mean, the way that Brito, who pitched on Saturday, we'll talk about that in a second, has pitched, you would think Schmidt is looking at the bullpen or possibly even the minor leagues, the way he's pitched up to this point. So that kind of set them back. And then they brought in Hamilton, who's newer on the team. I mean, he did okay, 2 innings, earned a run, 4 Ks. Martinaccio ran into a little trouble. You gave up a run, 2 strikeouts in the inning. Then they went Cordero, Peralta, gave up another run, so 7 total runs. So not great from a pitching perspective. In terms of the offense, Stanton, who had struggled a little bit, he had 2 hits, including a double. So looked like he was locked in. And we saw, rest of the series remained hot as well with that moonshot on Saturday. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, 3 for 4, 3 RBIs. And Frenchie Cordero, kind of interesting. I believe he was on the Orioles and the Red Sox before, kind of a journeyman outfielder, and has actually produced in small spurts here with the Yankees. So you like to see that. So I mean, offensively, you had your chances to rally. You couldn't get it done, but I think 6 runs is suitable. It's just that rare occasion where both the starting pitching and the relief pitching did not get the job done. Not to mention, I mean, you're trying to rally against Felix Bautista. Really tough to think that you're going to be able to do much against him. I mean, his fastball, his sinker, I mean, it's unbelievable. They had a chance there at the end, couldn't get it done. So that was a disappointing way to, begin the weekend series.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they did rebound both Saturday and Sunday, which is really what they've done all year. And we talk about the importance of, winning 2 out of 3 games. And that's what they consistently have done in their first 3 series. Saturday ends up being a 4-1 victory here. And I mentioned Brito making a second start. I saw his first one last week. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 92 pitches, has a .9 ERA to start the season. Bullpen went back to being lights out. Michael King gave you 2 innings, which was nice. There had been some concerns about him, and then they finished it off with Peralta and Holmes getting his second save of the season. Did you see on Twitter they were showing the break on his sinker?
No, I didn't see.
You had to look. I mean, the
Really?
bottom just drops out. It's like, how do you? I mean, it looks like it's gonna come in pretty much like middle, and then it's 3 feet below the strike zone.
That's
I mean,
so sick.
Unbelievable. What a weapon he has with that pitch. But this one, offensively, Stanton, another 2 hits, including his 3rd home run, which was a bomb. And then DJ LeMahieu had an RBI single. Judge had an RBI single as well. And you had Anthony Volpe narrowly missing his first career home run, settled for a triple. So nice to see him doing some damage with the bat. So not a ton of runs, but enough in a well-pitched game. So you felt good about that. And then we were on to yesterday, where once again, the Yankees were able to answer the bell. Nestor Cortez on the hill, and he had a solid outing for them, picking up his 2nd victory of the season. And Aaron Judge, it seemed like it had been a little while since he had hit a home run, but he hits 2 home runs to bring his total to 4, 7 RBIs, and he also has a .364 batting average. And the 4 home runs, I think it took him, they said, 17 games last year, only 9 games this season to eclipse that mark. So potentially, could he, go for a big number once again? Anthony Rizzo with 2 hits as well. Frenchie Cordero, another 2 hits, and a home run, his 2nd of the year. So amazing what he's been able to do, and really making it pretty hard for Brian Cashman to keep Aaron Hicks on the roster at this point. If you're getting production like Cordero, or out of Cordero, a guy 28 years old, and really no success up to this point. But for some reason, sometimes, you have a player, you put him in a comfortable, warm environment, and they succeed. And I think that's what we're seeing out of Frenchie Cordero. So, you got what you wanted offensively. Stanton had another hit in this one and an RBI. So he's really produced every game of this series. And then I mentioned Nestor ran into a little trouble in the 6th inning, but his final line, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2.61 ERA this year. Bullpen did good other than Cordero giving up a home run to Adley Rutschman in the 8th inning. But other than that, scoreless inning from Abreu, 2/3 scoreless from Marinaccio. And then, like I said, Cordero 1 inning giving up the run, and then Clay Holmes slamming the door, 9 pitches for his 3rd save of the year, and a nice 5-3 victory for the Yankees, a nice 3rd consecutive series win to open up the season. And then they're going to be hitting the road to Cleveland for the Guardians before they return home this weekend for the Minnesota Twins. But like I mentioned in the open here, it's all about winning series, winning 2 out of 3. And that's what the Yankees are doing up to this point in the season.
Yeah, like you said, take it one series at a time, win those series. I think, with the way the Yankees kind of started off, giving up, what was it, 7 runs in the first game?
Yeah.
Bullpen struggling a little bit, starting pitching struggling a little bit. I think they kind of picked it up nicely. I mean, again, the bullpen, out of 4 bullpen guys they used, 3 of them gave up runs, right, on Friday. So it's like for the bullpen to kind of settle down and, just bang out the rest of the weekend against a team like the Orioles. I think great adjustment there. Because, hey, man, I mean, I feel like, you have confidence in your bullpen. I mean, you're going to have a great season.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, with winning these series, they haven't lost back-to-back games this season.
Nice.
So, what we're going to get for this series against Cleveland, you got Herman Bieber tonight. Obviously, a little tough matchup for the Yankees there. But then they rebound tomorrow with Cole versus Gaddis. And then a 1:00 Wednesday game, Schmidt versus Savali, who infamously started that game 5 of the division series last year, did not record an out. Stanton going deep in the first inning. And then a 4-game set at home against Minnesota. I will be there in attendance on Friday. So another Brian at the game, 3rd one in April. That's definitely a record for me. So looking forward to sharing that with all of you. And something that I haven't even told Tony about yesterday, Carm, Sam's dad, got me. So it's a week actually from today. I'm going to the Ridgefield Playhouse, and you're gonna lose it about this. It's a meet and greet, question and answer with Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman.
No.
Yep.
Are you shitting me?
Yep.
Does Mike know about this?
No, I haven't told him. So
oh my God, dude.
Matthew either. Yeah. So.
I hope he's, dude. Mike is gonna lose his shit. What are you gonna? Do you have any questions lined up?
I was thinking about this morning, and I want to, because I don't want it to be where, and not to say that eventually I'm gonna get to know either Boone or Cashman, but I'm thinking of a creative way to ask, basically, like, without saying Aaron Hicks or Josh Donaldson, just the philosophy, it seems like, since he's been general manager, specifically the past, 10 years or so,
right,
that no matter how poorly or underperforming a player is doing, that there's a reluctance to eat money, to release them, even if they're not getting positive results on the field. I want to ask that type of question. And I think, you could tell me if I'm wrong, Tony, but I would be better suited asking it that way than, because I think if I specifically name Hicks or Donaldson, like, he's probably gonna get tight. It's just gonna be kind of,
and they're gonna deflect the answer. No, that you have to kind of tiptoe your way around it, dude.
Yeah.
As Matthew is probably freaking out at the library right
now.
Wait, what? Wait. What's the plan, Brian? Are we going Yankees jersey? What do we got?
Oh, of course we're going Yankees jersey. So yeah, and I haven't really looked too much into it other than, that I'm going.
Free food?
I don't know anything. I think we'll probably, eat dinner before then, but
sick,
what a nice gift. So thank you, Carm. And
where is this?
It's Ridgefield Playhouse.
Where is that?
Next to Danbury. So I want to say from Norwalk. We looked it up yesterday. It's like 20 minutes from Norwalk.
Is it like, I don't know, like why are they there though?
I guess they have like kind of smaller type of events. They have them there. It's like a popular place for that.
Wow.
Not everybody like yourself, knows about it, but that's what Carmen was saying yesterday.
That's sick, dude.
So yeah, great Easter gift. I really appreciate it. He's saying start over, Brian. Start over.
Play it back.
All right.
Matthew.
So my Easter gift.
You're going to a play
from Carm and Veronica, Sam's parents. They got me tickets to a meet and greet and question and answer segment with Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone. So that's a week from today, Matthew, at the Ridgefield Playhouse.
What time?
I believe it's a 7 o'clock.
Can you bring your media team?
I will ask about media passes.
That'd be
Tony.
crazy, dude.
So
but first, as airing of grievances.
Just don't want to get kicked out of
Yeah.
there.
Oh my God, dude. About to keep it. Wow. Are you fucking shitting me?
It is amazing, Tony, and I know you know this because obviously I share all this stuff with you. Just like the run of events right now. You know, we think about opening day, then the Sunday game, the game this Friday, our live show at the Horseshoe on Sunday, the meet and greet with Cashman and Boone on Monday, and then the Baltimore Suite the last week of this month as well.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. And episode 500 of the Sports Port coming
episode 500.
I think the way it's going to be is maybe next Wednesday it's going to be 500.
Yeah. We just missed like the 500 being at the Horseshoe. But
I would say,
I mean, yeah, they're all important episodes, of course.
Correct.
So yeah, just so much exciting stuff coming up, for sure. And then obviously a little further down the road, and I was mentioning this too. That I'm going to attend my first golf tournament, the Travelers Championship in June. And I was thinking too, we got to look into, and I'll try my best to see, but for some of these tournaments and stuff, is there any way to get like media passes or something? I feel like the Travelers, maybe like there might be an opportunity there.
Yeah. I feel like we have to apply it like now.
Yeah. So that would be awesome if we could somehow work that out. And I know we're probably too late on this, but could you imagine? I know Michael, you, Matthew, Renee too would be so excited. The road trip to Rochester for the PGA Championship.
Oh my God, so riled.
The media passes, the food and drink tent. Are you kidding?
Oh, Michael loves a good road trip. As Matthew says, Barnes, you are all over the map. Worldwide Barnes, he says.
But yeah, we've talked about it for a while. Just
that's sick, dude.
All the good stuff coming up. This is the time of year we love, and so excited to share it with all of you guys. That is for sure.
Hell yeah.
One thing I would like to share with everybody, and I had one of these before. I'm starving, so I'm gonna have one more. Rainbow cookies and compliments to Anthony Materiello on the chefing here. These are outstanding. So if anybody hasn't tried one of these, hit up Anthony. I heard he's has some discounts going on right now for a couple batches.
Yeah, you can put in your orders at downtowntv.com, dude.
Is it how long is like the baking preparation process? Is it in detailed or?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty extensive, I suppose. I mean, you make the dough from scratch. It's really not that bad, honestly. Because you just really have to make the dough, you color it whatever color you want. Obviously, we did Easter colors this, for the Easter holiday, Michael. And then you just pour it out into a tray, you harden it, you flatten it out, you bake it, and you chocolate it. It's really not that bad. Yeah, you toast it up, warm it up, dude. It's really not that bad at all. It's just, when the assembly is probably the hardest part, honestly, because you have to be pretty calculated with your moves. The chocolating, you can't, you got to chocolate it pretty quickly because if the chocolate starts to harden, then you can't really spread it out anymore and stuff like that. So it takes a little finesse for the putting it together, but it's relatively easy, honestly.
Yeah. So definitely good stuff there. And not to change the mood here, Tony. And I guess, relatively it was a 2 out of 3 situation, but if you would, detail us on the weekend for the New York Metropolitans, the opening weekend at Citi Field.
Yes, certainly. So big opening weekend here at Citi Field. Mets win 2 out of 3 against Miami. Seemingly they have had Miami's number all year long. Only losing 2 games against them. But Friday, let's start with that. You had Tyler McGill on the mound here. Went 6 innings, gave 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks. Phenomenal, honestly, opening day for Tyler McGill. We talked about someone of his age being kind of sprung into this position where Verlander would be. Right. And, other than, really, besides the strikeouts, I feel like, this is an outing that you'd expect out of Verlander. 6 innings, nothing given up. He threw 88 pitches. He looked comfortable. He had a good arsenal of pitches. He was painting the upper part of the strike zone, like very well.
96?
Yeah, 96 in the fastball,
nice.
Which is great. He had, a nice slider as well, a few off speeds, used his changeup when he needed it. And again, like I said, he was just like hitting the upper part of the strike zone, going up and in, jamming up some batters. The Miami's lineup, they don't really have a lot of batters who can kind of muscle their way out of getting jammed up in the strike zone. So, you saw a lot of flyouts, a lot of swing and misses. So that was great too. And then, the bullpen did relatively well. You saw Adam Ottavino after his last outing of getting kind of popped. He had a good like 7th inning of just, no run ball, got 2 Ks, no hits, nothing like that. So bullpen looked good. Rayleigh looked okay. And then Reyes closed out the game pretty solid, but obviously, they scored 9 runs here. I believe they were walked something like 12 times.
12 times. Wow.
I'm going to double check here on the box score. Yeah, dude, Miami was really shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, they had 12 walks collectively as a lineup. Brandon Nimmo got walked 4 times.
4 times.
4 times, dude. Lindor walked twice, McNeil, Kana both walked twice. Pham got walked once, Marte got walked once. So, I mean, I will say, great discipline at the plate. You have to kind of notice that. It was really just the Mets lineup recognizing that, hey, man, like these Miami pitchers just really did not have any control. From Cabrera he had 7 walks, their starting pitcher. He walked 7 batters. And again, like, the Mets lineup recognized that, and they're like, hey, man, like, you're going to throw balls. Like, we're going to stand here. We're going to let you throw balls. Right. So I think, like, I want to say there was they definitely walked a few batters in. Brazoban came in. Escobar lasted 2 2/3 innings. Brazoban came in. He walked the lead runner, I believe, the lead batter, I should say, which brought a run in there for Cabrera. And then from there, was just no control. He lasted an inning. The rest of their bullpen. I mean, Barnes, they brought in Barnes. I don't know what his deal was, but he was all over the place. He threw 20. Matt Barnes, yeah. 21 pitches, only 12 of them were strikes.
Wow.
He just literally cannot get anything going. Then they brought in Scott for an inning. He had 2 walks as well. Then Castano had another walk. So, I mean, it was really more of Miami just not being able to really produce anything from the pitching aspect. But you look at the lineup here. I mean, Lindor was 1 for 3. Alonso was 2 for 5 with a dinger, 2 RBIs. Lindor had the other dinger in the game, 2 RBIs. Marte with a dinger and an RBI. So you have to see that, offensive production out of there. Other than that, though, I mean, honestly, like I think you had texted too in the group, like no praise for the Mets win. I mean, I don't know. It didn't really feel great. Obviously, at this point on Friday, you're not looking very highly into the Mets, coming off of their series against the Brewers. And then it's like, yeah, like we beat Miami, which we should, scored 9 runs. But again, like you're watching this game and it's just Miami just shoot themselves. I mean, there was one play too where it was like a dribbler to first base, and Cooper, the first baseman for Miami. It was between like first and second, and like Cooper like ran to get the ball, couldn't get it. Second baseman picks it up behind him, and the pitcher just did not cover first, and no one was on first. So I think it was Vogelbach actually ended up reaching the first base on a play like that, and it was just like plays like that for Miami all game. And it's just like, they looked totally unorganized. They had nothing going, no momentum, nothing good coming out of Miami that day. And it's just like, all right, like, they're practically handing the Mets the win. You don't feel great about it. You're happy with Tyler McGill. But other than that, like Alonso's been doing great, but you don't really have a great feeling in your stomach. Anyway, moving on to Saturday as the Mets defeat the Marlins again 5-2. You had Kodai Senga making his Citi Field debut here.
One of the biggest bright spots so far.
One of the biggest bright spots by far, honestly. Him and McGill are you're pretty happy with them. And again, a pitcher like Senga, who his first outing, against Miami, where, he's like bases loaded, first inning, loads up a run, and then settles down, dials in, gets the nerves out, has a great game. Did exactly that from the get-go, on Saturday, as he pitched 6 innings of only 1 earned run baseball, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 Ks. He threw 90 pitches. He looked really good. I think, honestly, what was important about Senga was, obviously he was going to that ghost forkball almost immediately, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, he's trying to like almost pitch it outside of the zone. And a lot of Miami hitters, rightfully so, adjusting. are kind of laying off of it. So he kind of adjusts, and a lot of his strikeouts came from his fastball, believe it or not, which is great to see that Senga doesn't have to rely on that forkball to get strikeouts, to get strikes in general. He was able to mix up his pitches. And again, another pitcher who I think took some notes on Miami, and he was pitching him high and tight, hitting the higher part of the strike zone, jamming up those batters, making it really difficult for Miami to get many hits. So, I mean, you love that out of him. Bullpen did all right. Drew Smith is someone who
you're not a fan of.
Not a huge fan. I mean, he lasted a third of an inning, gave up a hit, an earned run, and a walk. And he was someone who I'm trying to remember Saturday. I think it was him who, there was one at bat where, control was a little iffy, and the whole at bat, as Renee is walking up the stairs, if she comes in here, you're gonna find very funny how she's dressed. But
Renee. Hello, friends. As Princess Peach walks in the building.
So Drew Smith, I mean, again, he had this at bat against who? You can go ahead, Renee. But it was just it was all fastballs, and the hitter was fouling off each one, and he was just a tick behind the fastball. And finally, Drew Smith throws on the fastball and gives a base hit. And it's just dude,
what are you doing?
Why don't you just throw an off speed pitch? Come on, dude. The guy is you gotta have something else going here. And it's not again, Drew Smith, he throws 95, 96 on the gun. It's not you're throwing 101 and you can just try to blow past him here.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's keying on fastball. You got I don't know, man. Try to mix it up here. But David Robertson actually came in for the save that day.
Another bright spot.
He's a bright spot for sure. He does a great job. Again, someone who has great control. You can tell he knows the reliever, the closer position, I should say. He threw 11 pitches, 8 of them were strikes. He got the K, gave up no hits, nothing like that. So he's a really smart closer. Mm-hmm. Which is great to see that, and he's controlled. And then even we saw John Curtis actually come in too, 30-year-old out of the bullpen, the righty. Do a little bit of research on him. You see he's kind of been in the league since 2017. Been with Minnesota, LA, Tampa Bay, Miami, Milwaukee, kind of all over the place here in the league. So, and at 30 years old, maybe you can find a nice settled in home here with the Mets, because he looks pretty solid as well. Again, good control. Which I think at this point is really all you can ask for, is just really controlling the strike zone, controlling your pitches. So you have to see that. And then on the offensive side, Escobar has a nice 2-run homer late in the game, and I don't know. I think Eduardo Escobar is someone you kind of want to focus on, because especially with someone like Brett Beatty, who's behind him in the minors, who has been having great at bats in the minors. But like Buck said, they and Epler, they want to get him more reps at defense at third base, because Escobar honestly is a great defensive third baseman. He plays great at third base. You really don't see many errors coming out of him. And he's also, you see him a lot of times barehanding, ground balls in the infield, just to get the throw off, making outs at first, those kind of tight outs there that you have to see from a third baseman. It just, unfortunately, from where he falls flat is his offense. Mm-hmm. And I think he had a couple really good at bats where he was really battling back from, he was behind on the count, 1-2, and he's battling back, fouling off good pitches, laying off pitches that were out of the strike zone, forcing pitchers, kind of as he battles back to a 3-2 count, forcing pitchers to throw balls in the strike zone and then capitalizing on that. That's what you saw in that 2-run homer. And I just think, someone like him, who probably feels that pressure now especially of fans, calling for Beatty as they got a little taste of him last year. I think he kind of knows that. And, he's talked about how much he's worked on his batting. So, I would say watch out for him and maybe some improvement at the plate. But other than that, I mean, you look at how the Mets scored. Marte, he went 1 for 3. Lindor went 1 for 4. Alonso went 1 for 3 with a dinger, 2 RBIs. He's been doing great. I mean, I think he has 5 home runs in the season, 11 RBIs. He's been totally on top of it. I think he's had, I want to say 4 home runs in his last, I guess before Sunday, it was 4 home runs in his last 4 games. So, he's someone who's kind of been starting to heat up here, as Lindor has been getting a lot of hits as well. So you have to see that. Jeff McNeil, kind of like we said before, picking up where he left off last season, 1 for 3 with an RBI. Escobar had that dinger, 2 RBIs. Kana going for 2 for 4 as well. He's been having some pretty strong at bats, but you're kind of again hoping that he kind of keep that up. And then you fast forward here a little bit to Sunday, where this is where the Mets kind of fell, almost having like the opposite weekend of what the Yankees did. But unfortunately, you had someone like Carlos Carrasco starting, and I mean, you talk about the bright spots with Senga and McGill, and Carlos Carrasco was really anything but. 4 2/3, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, just 6K. Just 1K and 6 hits through only 83 pitches. And I mean, it's you look at how they scored a lot. Miami, it was a first inning home run, Dale Cruz, I think it was. And I think it was just Carrasco, leaving a breaking ball hanging over the middle of the plate. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, first inning, it's not exactly what you want. And then 5th inning was kind of really where it opened up. I think he let up a few hits. There was an RBI single. And then Cooper, the first baseman, hit a big dinger, 404 feet actually to left field, it looks like. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just like super tough to see Carrasco go in there and limp his way through a game. Again, you look at him last season and some of the good outings he had. I mean, yeah, he's definitely focuses a lot more on his off-speed pitches and his breaking balls because, I mean, his fastball just really isn't there. And you saw him throw his fastball a few times here, but I mean, at this point, I mean, if you're gonna have to rely on your breaking balls, you have to be super accurate. You have to be on top of it, and he's just not do that. He's leaving too many breaking balls over the middle of the plate. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, batters lick their chops at a situation like that. So it's just, I mean, he's just got to do a better job in locating his pitches. How he's going to do that, I don't know. I would imagine, I mean, he hasn't had a great start to the season. He certainly, isn't a beloved pitcher on the Mets. So, I mean, at this point, unfortunately, we kind of need him. So he's got to figure it out.
Well, luckily, next time out, he's going to face the A's. So you figure, that's giving him a shot at success anyway.
Yeah.
But kind of a tough stretch coming up here for the Mets. You got
San Diego
starting today, 3 at home in San Diego, and then an 11-game road trip on the West Coast. I mean, luckily you get 3 in Oakland, but 4 it's a 10-game road trip. My bad. 3 in LA and then 4 in San Francisco. So that's kind of tough. That's a long road trip before they come home for Washington and Atlanta. But I think the key is here, you're at home. We know the Padres are tough. But I just think it's like we've been talking about this whole series, 2 out of 3. That's what you have to do here. And I mean, at least, I know he hasn't pitched well yet this year. But at least you got Max Scherzer going tonight, which should be a great pitching matchup against you, Darvish.
You would think, Brian.
But wow, Tony, you really are beaten down.
I mean, again, Scherzer's not pitched well. His first few outings is not great. So again, you put him against a good lineup like the Padres. I mean, he got absolutely tattooed by the Brewers. So I mean, it's just you're not feeling phenomenal about it. But this is. Again, you would expect Scherzer, a veteran pitcher. I mean, if I'm him, I'm telling him right now, your back is against the wall, buddy. There is no room for error. We're relying on you so heavily since Verlander is out, and we'll get to a little bit of a Verlander update. But
not to switch here, but I was just thinking about this. Is Marte okay? I thought I heard something, a neck or what is it?
There was a little bit of a collision here. I can pull it up for you, but there was concussion tests and everything. As far as I know, everything was fine.
Everything's okay.
But he left the game,
so
rattled.
It's a scare.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just protocol, at that point. So yeah, dude, it all is fine. Thank gosh. But yeah, I mean, Scherzer needs to have one hell of an outing. We're talking 7 innings, no earned runs, 11 Ks.
And but first says Scherzer, you're making $40 million per year.
Yeah. I mean, he's making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the highest paid pitcher in the league. And I want to say the second highest paid player in general, maybe. He's up there with Rendon, I think, making right. Rendon's making
30 something.
30 something a year, right? So I mean, it's yeah. So yeah, dude. So it's pretty interesting. And then you obviously Verlander's up there too. Speaking of Verlander, so far I think I heard yesterday pain is all gone in his shoulder. He's moving forward with throwing and getting back into full pitching shape. They said no timetable, however, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, it's not like he's shut down, no throwing for like 2 weeks or something like that, So it's nice that he's able to throw, which is great. And yeah, dude. And then you also saw Alvarez get the start yesterday. Went 1 for 4, I think.
RBI single in the first. Which was nice because Carrasco let up a run in the first.
Right. You're kind of down. Alvarez, the young guy coming in.
Swing or
good swing
good
again.
bat speed.
Yeah. And actually, you know what, dude? Like that at bat too. I forget he was down, battled back, but he shortened up his swing and just got that nice single. He was able to kind of go oppo and showed him that swing. Great job, good adjustment by him mid bat too. So you have to see that again. That's something that Alvarez was touted for, his offense. We talked a bit about his defense behind the plate, giving up. Miami was 5 for 5 with steals. But again, we also talked about it too before the show. Like any catcher, the running game is very different this year. And for a young catcher like himself, you'd imagine not only adjusting to the majors, adjusting to that rule change takes some time for sure. He did have a horrific overthrow to Lindor at second base though. And I think it was on Jazz and he ended up going to third. So but I think, nerves, and that was after I think he gave up 2 steals. So, I mean, I'm sure it was bothering him a little bit. Just got to settle down, just like play his game. He can make the throw. We know that. But it's just, I mean, you've seen it, these obviously a lot more teams are stolen base happy, and these runners can get better leads because it's not like, the pitch clock that, they know that they can be safe with a bigger lead now. So,
yeah. And I feel like with him, I mean, just ease into it, start him at catcher once, maybe twice a week, and then make the rest of the starts a designated hitter.
Yeah. I mean, Tommy Pham isn't really doing that great. Neither is Vogelbach. So it's,
So, I mean, that's, that's the opportunity for him.
I think Pham started left field though. He looked pretty solid
in
over the
outfield,
weekend. Yeah.
So. Now, so just updating everybody pick segment wise. I picked up a couple more points from Thursday's pick. We didn't do picks Friday. So I'm 12-8 leading right now.
Not bad.
With 3 picks coming for today. I'm just kind of interested to see, are you confident enough to take Scherzer in the Mets?
Confident. I don't know. Delirious, perhaps. Give me the Mets here. Max Scherzer, no hitter going into the 7th inning. I'm telling you right now, dude. Probably doesn't get the no hitter, but it's okay, dude. It's okay. Final line: 7 2/3, 1 hit, no earned runs, 11 Ks, no walks, buddy. Dialed in, 108 pitches for him.
Alvarez deep.
Alvarez deep. If he gets, he should be getting the start. I mean, I would imagine.
Start him at DH, like I said.
Honestly, dude, absolutely ridiculous. Alonso, another dinger for his 6th of the season. How many does Judge have? 4? That's 4. Right, Brian. Okay.
We'll see what the tally is.
And then give me an Escobar dinger as well. He's feeling hot. He's excited. Give me the Mets winning this one. I'm going to say a nice shutout game here. 4-0.
Now, if this happens, do you feel like you'll get a decent amount of energy back for the
Mets? Are you kidding me? Yes.
I just wanted
revived.
So I'm going to take the Yankees. I mean, obviously, like I was talking about in the intro, a little bit of a tough on the pitching matchup. But the one thing I feel good about is I feel like Domingo Germán is a guy who, you start him on the road in Houston, he's going to get shellacked. But if you're starting him against a team like Cleveland, who isn't full of big boppers, obviously you got to be careful, with Jose Ramirez, but rest of the team more so middling power, some contact guys. So I think he can perform well. Hasn't looked good in the early going, but and I think with Bieber, I think he will silence the Yankees early. But let's say 4th inning, I could see them getting a couple runners on, maybe Stanton, a base clearing double, something like that. And then their bullpen, answering the call. Holmes, another save. And I want to say Judge, his 5th and 6th. So he hits 4 home runs in 2 days. And the Yankees, like they always do against Cleveland, win this one. I'm going to say 5-2, picking up their 7th victory of the season.
Love it, dude. As preferred, by the way, comments on my pick. He says, Padres just swept the Braves. Are you okay? He says. And you know what I say you prefer? I say they didn't. I believe, actually, the Braves won the first game of the series. It was like 5-2, I thought.
Yeah,
no? So,
I think they did.
Yeah. So
4-game set preferred, not 3 games.
Oh, yeah. 4-game set. Okay, so Scherzer, no hitter. Eat it, prefer.
Do you think
all
he's
right?
too focused on nicknames and he's not paying attention to the game?
He's got some good nicknames, though, in Ty Lord McGill. That's a good one, no? I mean, I think so. Maybe I think for some reason, prefer likes Bryant now, and now he's like coming against the Mets. For some reason,
think
dude.
he kind of sees, he might have been talking too much,
Oh, that's ridiculous, dude. Come on, telling you.
All right,
Sure.
just checking.
All right.
Second pick.
Second pick. I mean, what was your first pick? I'm sorry.
The New York Yankees.
Oh, wow, dude. So we would prefer to say about that. I don't know what they're putting in the water in Tampa Bay right now, but they're 9-0, the Rays, and they're playing the Red Sox tonight. So I really could not imagine that the Rays have much struggles against the Red Sox. First time they're obviously, playing each other all season here, as Tampa Bay coming off back-to-back 11-0 victories against Oakland. And you could argue, Oakland, Boston, pretty similar if you ask me. Boston on a 3-game winning streak just swept Detroit, so good for them getting something going. I mean, dude, Javi Baez, by the way, looking like absolute dog shit in Detroit.
It's unbelievable.
Swinging at everything. It's hysterical. But nonetheless, you're looking at the pitching matchup here is Nick Pivetta. You know Pivetta, dude. Gets the start here for Boston against Jalen Beeks, the 29-year-old.
Came over in the Nathan Eovaldi trade. I guess bullpen guy getting a start here for his first start of the season. Has thrown 3 innings so far over the course of 2 games. Came up just 1 earned run, 3 hits, 1 walk. So decent control. So, I mean, you would expect against a Boston lineup, for him to kind of settle in quite nicely. So give me Tampa Bay here. I think the bats are going to be flying. I want to say something like 7-3, maybe 10-0 for the Tampa Rays.
How crazy is that?
Playing Boston, though. And speaking of a good matchup, and I know they have struggled to start their season at 4-6. But give me the Mariners as my lock of the night, other than the Yankees. -150 road favorites at Wrigley Field here. Luis Castillo has had 2 outstanding starts. Hasn't allowed any runs, struck out 12 over 11 2/3, 2 walks, no home runs allowed. Going against former Tigers pitcher Drew Smyly, who I was never impressed with. I know there was some hype about him for a little bit. I think he was the initial piece that came over in the David Price deal.
How's David Price doing?
I think he's retired at this point.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Anyway, Tony, I think the Mariners, will hit Smyly early. I could see Julio Rodriguez having 4 hits in this one, 5 RBIs, really making a presence known here. And same thing with Ty France. I could see him having a good game. Castillo dominating the Cubs. I could see Hosmer and Bellinger flailing at a couple off-speed pitches, high and tight with the fastball.
Love it.
I think Castillo won't let up a run again. Give him 7 scoreless, 10 strikeouts, 3 hits, no walks in a 5-0 shutout of the Chicago Cubs.
Absolutely.
Third and final.
Give me the Braves, actually, against Cincinnati. Before we were just talking about the Braves getting almost swept against the Padres. I think big bounce back game against Cincinnati here. Bryce Elder on the mound. Watch out for this guy. 23-year-old right-handed pitcher, 6'2", 220. Very solid outing against a team like the Cardinals, who can show their bats off. He went 6 innings, gave only 2 hits, 3 walks, 6 Ks, no earned runs, dude. And you'll get his pitch selection here. Predominantly relies on his slider as he throws it 41% of the time. Tremendous movement on that. He has a sinker, which has decent velocity. Obviously, a fastball and a changeup that he doesn't really go to as much, but relying on that sinker and that slider for his strikeout pitches here, and seemingly, doing a great job. I guess a pretty good pitcher. We've seen great guys coming through the Braves organization. It seems like Bryce Elder is going to be one of them here. I think he will make minced meat of Cincinnati's lineup as the Braves have this 3-game set at home against Cincinnati. Give me the Braves here. Bats will be heavy. Give me a 5-1 victory.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am continuing my Patrick Corbin fading routine here. Jose Suarez opposing him in the OC tonight.
It's a good routine.
And I think Trout and Ohtani will go back to back, or as John Sterling would say, belly to belly. I don't think this one will be close. I want to say the Angels are going to defeat the Nationals here 10-2 and really putting on a show. And I really I saw Trout's home run from over the weekend, an absolute missile. I think tonight he's going to go 500 feet off of Corbin's 87-mile-an-hour fastball. But I really hope we get to see him in the postseason. I know odds are against it, but really would just be a special treat. I mean, such a talented player. But that being said, Tony, let's go quickly to the world of the National Hockey League.
Here's Matthews. Scores! Hat-trick goal!
My goodness, this is a great shot. Big hit on the far side by Beckham. He flattens Jordan's skull. Oh my goodness! Gets the top right back. Terrifying and Rahm by Shesterkin. That's brilliance from Igor Shesterkin. It's a breakaway to win it in overtime. McDavid scores the winner in overtime.
All right. So I believe, Tony, if I'm not mistaken, basically 2 games left in the NHL regular season.
I think the Bruins actually have 3 games left.
And speaking of the Bruins, an NHL record 63 wins.
Yes.
They eclipsed, which is quite remarkable. What a season they've had. And it's so funny, the deliriousness of Stacks. He was saying he knows that they're going to lose in the first round. He's so convinced they could get swept.
Right.
Like, are your eyes open?
Honestly, I mean, I think, it's funny because I actually have some stats here I want to talk about in terms of teams having, winning the President's Trophy. We know about that. And then breaking this record here. But listen, anything could happen. But I think the Bruins, I mean, it's a little bit of a different monster when you look at that team this season. But you look at this record. The record was obviously 62. Bruins got 63 wins. They set that record. This record was originally set at 60 way back in 76, 77 season by the Canadiens,
of course,
who went on to win the cup, but wasn't broken until the Detroit Red Wings in their 95-96 season, as they got 62 wins in the regular season. They lost in their conference final against the Colorado Avalanche, who went on to win the cup. And then that Patrick Waugh, dude. And then that record was tied by the 2018-19 Tampa Bay Lightning for 62 win season as well, tying the Red Wings. And the Lightning that year got swept in the first round of the playoffs by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Boston Bruins went on to actually win that Stanley Cup that year. So pretty interesting facts. And it's been a really long time since a team that has won the President's Trophy has won the cup. I want to say it's been the 2014 Blackhawks, I think, was the last team to do it, or the 23rd, whatever year that was around there. So it's pretty interesting. The Bruins do have some stats going against them in terms of them winning the cup or doing well in the first round. But again, you'd expect a Bruins team like this. I mean, their 63 win, you saw Pasternak with the hat trick there. They have so much depth in the team, so much chemistry, so much athletic ability and talent. But again, you could say that about, the Lightning back in 2018. So again, I think the Bruins are a better team than that, but it should be interesting. I mean, never say never, but obviously, big congrats to the Bruins, I suppose, for breaking that record that's been, tied for, nearly 30 years.
Absolutely. What's interesting though? So I mentioned, most teams have 2 games left. I guess Carolina has 3, but this New Jersey and New York first round matchup, not set in stone just yet. Carolina has fallen on tough times, and Chokri was texting me about it yesterday. They only lead the Devils by 1 point here, so there's 3 games left. So, I mean, there's a chance that we might have to play Carolina in the first round. We're 2 points behind New Jersey, 3 points behind Carolina, so a lot to be determined there. But either way, obviously,
I want the Devils, Brian.
Yeah, we want to take them head on,
Michael.
and we know we're excited to do so. So that's going to be interesting. And then this wild card is still not decided. You got Pittsburgh 1 point behind the Islanders, who are tied with Florida with points. So, it'll be an exciting 3 days of action here, and I'm just excited to see what the matchups are. Now, I mean, the Rangers, they play Buffalo tonight at home. I mean, do they put, just go all out here and try to get, leap for that second seed? Or
Yes.
you think that's the strategy
absolutely.
here? Boy, I mean, I wonder, I mean, this has got to be, have they not had, they have 47 wins now. I guess they can only get to 49, but have they not had 50 since they won the President's Trophy back in 2014?
That's a good question.
They definitely didn't have 50 last year.
No, they did not. I want to say they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the season after, though, 2015.
Lists of New York Rangers seasons.
New York Rangers hockey reference, bud.
Oh, we actually have some breaking news.
Wait, actually?
Yeah. After withdrawing from the Masters tournament, Will Zalatoris has undergone surgery and will miss the remainder of this golf season.
Actually?
So a big blow for Will Zalatoris. Best wishes to him, one of the more exciting younger golfers on tour. We wish him a very speedy recovery.
How long?
It did not say. It just said it will miss the remainder of the season.
Oh. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. So I know he had struggled with injuries for a while, but we wish him well. What do we have here for
21-22 season, 52 wins?
Oh, they did win 52 last year.
So.
This season it just seems like they've won a lot.
And then before that was the 14-15 season.
So I mean, a job well done, and I can't wait to see when the playoff field is set and who they are matching up against. It's just going to be a great Stanley Cup playoffs.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I am earning for it. And as we're in a sprinting mood, Tony, let's go to the world of the National Football League.
6 for 101, 2 touchdowns. Touchdown, Tampa Bay! How about that throw? Sam Darnold blasted! Oh my goodness, did he take a hit? In trouble once, brings him down. Lost one for Odell Beckham Jr. Got it down, touchdown!
Speaking of, Tony, it came out yesterday. 1 year, $18 million. Odell Beckham Jr. not signing with the Jets, not going back to the Giants, but signing with the Baltimore Ravens. So kind of interesting. Obviously, the first part of this seems like that would suggest that Lamar is a lock to return, number one.
I mean, I would imagine that's a pretty big selling point for Odell, right? There's the fact that Lamar is the quarterback, because I feel like Odell wouldn't be that interested to go to Baltimore, given the fact that Lamar's not there, right? Because who's their quarterback if it's not Lamar?
Exactly. I mean, barring some trade we're not seeing, and I doubt if he knew they were going to take a rookie in the first round that, he would sign up for that.
Yeah, no way, dude.
But and I was texting this in the group yesterday, said it on Twitter as well. I just don't see the fit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it either. I think it's going to be a lot of baggage. I don't know. I feel like he's not going to really play well with Lamar. I mean, Lamar's going to scramble a lot. I feel like Odell's not going to really want that. I feel like Odell wants a quarterback who can step up in the pocket and just sling it to him specifically, So I don't know, man. Especially because, Lamar, we know, his issues with injuries, issues down the stretch of the season, issues down the stretch of games, blowing games in the fourth quarter, turnovers, that throwing ability that looked like it was improving, but then kind of didn't really improve. So I don't know, dude. As Matthew, by the way, a few comments here says Odell would have been nice in gang green. NFL Odell Beckham getting priority over Knicks making the playoffs. You know that, prefer. But really not that upset about it. We're loaded on wide receivers. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be a great fit for the Jets either, honestly. And then Prefer says hashtag Knicks snubbed on DTV. I wonder if Michael's listening.
Well, the thing is, Prefer, and I would imagine, Michael, we will have him here in studio tomorrow. So we'll have more of an opportunity to talk about that actually, because we do have the play-in games starting tomorrow. Lakers, did get the 7th seed. The NBA wrapping up the regular season yesterday. Will face off against the Timberwolves. But before I just talk about that for a second, just wrapping up this conversation about Odell. Sure, it would be like a luxury, I guess, for the Jets to have him. But like Matt was saying, we're already loaded at wide receiver. We'll be fine. Let's just get Rodgers here. And Odell, it's not a certainty that he's going to just come in anywhere and be an all-pro receiver. Like I was saying, I think there are going to be some problems in Baltimore because Lamar has not shown that he can consistently deliver the ball down the field to wide receivers. And that's why Hollywood Brown, was eventually traded. He wanted out of town despite his close relationship with Lamar because he's just not good at throwing to wide receivers. He wants to throw to running backs, tight ends, and fullbacks.
Yeah. So,
do you think though that it comes to a point where he's literally like deactivated towards the end of the year, complete tantrum, or do you feel that Odell he is not coming back because he's learned from his Giants days?
I don't know if he really learned from his Giants days. I don't know. I think maybe he is a little bit more humbled, especially coming back from this injury. I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna have a different attitude because of the injury too. I mean, I feel like the gravity of that situation. It was during the Super Bowl. Yeah, they ended up winning. He did score the first touchdown in the Super Bowl, but I mean, he's been out. He hasn't played a full season. So I think that gave him a little bit of a taste of what could happen if he kind of acts up again. So maybe a little bit of a turning of the new leaf for Odell. But I can see maybe him being visibly frustrated with the Ravens down the stretch of the season if they're not doing well. Also.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, that'll be interesting to see what happens. And I did mention, just before we wrap up here, the Lakers will play their play-in game tomorrow. So it's the 7 versus 8 matchup. So they're matched up, coincidentally enough, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were in the news over the weekend. Rudy Gobert, always a fan favorite on this show, punching Kyle Anderson. So, and then it was, I think, I'm forgetting, Jaden McDaniels punching a wall. So clearly there's stuff going on there. And it seems like Rudy Gobert is always at the face of it. So I can't imagine, that he would play in this game. So I think, that should bode well, for the Lakers, who have been on a nice run here. I think 8-2 to finish out the regular season. And, at 43-39, if you go back to the beginning of the year, starting out 3-10. So if you think about that, that's going 40 and 29 the rest of the way. So they've been able to right the ship. And if they win this game, they will play the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round of the playoffs. And, obviously, if they were to lose and then have to play for the 8th seed, that would be a matchup with the Denver Nuggets. And Joe Greer's been texting about this. He feels pretty good about the momentum of them,
really,
heading into the playoffs. But obviously, he said, he wants to be matched up with Memphis, who 35-6 at home, but only 16-25 on the road. Not quite as bad as the Warriors, 11-30, but nevertheless interesting. And I think the first day of the regular playoffs is until a week from this Saturday, because of these play-in games. But obviously, we'll keep an eye on that. And the Knicks, of course, locked in after going 47-35, something that probably doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, that was a pretty good year coming off the disappointment of last season. So before we did talk about it, and they get that matchup with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So
how do you feel about that?
I think that's going to be a great series. I think it's going to be a 7-game series, honestly.
Really? How do you feel about Matthew Gabriel saying, let's go T-Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, come on, buddy. Come on.
Oh, wow. Matthew getting the come on, dude.
Come on, Tony. Come on. So that's interesting stuff for sure. And when Michael's here, I'm sure we'll talk about that tomorrow. And of course, recap some New York baseball, Tony. But other than that, anything you wanted to mention here on the way out?
I don't believe so, dude. Go out there if you can. Enjoy some sun. Enjoy the baseball today. Honestly, dude, like watch some highlights from this weekend if you didn't catch up on some Masters, on some Rangers. They had a great win against Columbus 4-0. So I mean, so much sports to go over this weekend. If you missed any of it, I would say certainly it'd be worth the go to rewind and watch it back, dude.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. What is he talking about?
Matt Gaber said LA effed me in the keister.
But sport, don't even worry about it. It's Yankee season, Like just save that animosity for the Red Sox and anybody in the Houston Astros, bud. All right. And not that we really need it for the Red Sox because they're terrible.
Everybody Rays, watch out.
I'm not worried about the Rays. The Rays are the Rays. They've shown us that they cannot win a title. But anyway. Of course,
Brian. Of course.
Okay. But once again, what a day and what a show. We really appreciate everybody, joining us here on Monday and giving us part of your day. And we encourage everybody to continue liking, commenting, subscribing, spreading the word, checking out the archives on the YouTube page. Tony, Michael, Renee in costume, all the episodes of Screen Time, The Dream is Free, Sportsport, Gaming Corner, all the vlogs, all the content. You definitely want to check that out. As well as the merch, Spring in the Air.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Spring continues despite the conclusion of the 87th Masters. Check out the merch, downtimetv.com. We want everybody to enjoy this beautiful day. Enjoy the baseball. Enjoy the hockey. Let's go Yankees and Rangers. And we will see you.
Let's go Mets.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.